Marcus Webb had not cried since the night his wife left. Not at the funeral, not when he told his 7-year-old daughter Sophie that mommy wasn't coming back. Not even in the dark quiet of his bedroom when the silence felt like it had weight and texture and teeth. He had decided somewhere in those first brutal weeks that crying was a luxury he could not afford, because Sophie needed him standing, and standing meant keeping every cracked, broken piece of himself duct-taped together with routine and coffee and the kind of stubborn love that doesn't ask for anything in return. So he stood. Every single day he stood. That was 3 years ago. Now he was sitting in a booth at Rosario's Italian kitchen on a Tuesday night, wearing the blue button-down Sophie had ironed herself. Badly, with a crease going the wrong direction. Staring at a menu he wasn't reading, waiting for a woman named Claire that his coworker Janet had set him up with. She's warm, she's funny, she volunteers at the Children's Hospital on weekends, Janet had told him. Just go, one dinner. What's the worst that can happen? Marcus had run through several answers to that question during the 20-minute drive over, but he showed up anyway because Sophie had looked up at him with those big brown eyes and said, "Daddy, I think you should go. You deserve a friend." 7 years old and already wiser than him. The restaurant smelled like garlic and candle wax and the particular warmth of a place that has been loved for a long time. Marcus straightened his collar, checked his phone, and told himself to breathe. If you believe in second chances, in the quiet miracles that ordinary life sometimes delivers when you least expect them, hit that like button right now, drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from, and subscribe to the Kindness channel. We're building a community that believes kindness still wins. Now let's get back to Marcus. He heard her before he saw her, a laugh, bright and unguarded, coming from near the entrance, the kind of laugh that doesn't perform itself for anybody. He looked up out of reflex the way you look toward light, and his heart did something it had not done in years. It lurched. She was standing at the hostess stand, talking to the young woman there, and she was holding a white cane, the folding kind, extended and tapping gently against the tile floor as she oriented herself in the space. Her hair was darker than he remembered, shorter too, cut close around a face that had grown more defined with time, but was still, unmistakably, the same face. The same slight lift at the corner of her mouth when she smiled, the same way she tilted her head when she was listening. Marcus's throat closed. Claire Navarro, who had sat next to him in AP English junior year of high school in Columbus, Ohio, and corrected his interpretation of The Great Gatsby with a precision that embarrassed him and impressed him so completely that he had spent the next 3 weeks finding reasons to keep talking to her. Claire, who had been his first real love, who had gone to Northwestern on a full scholarship while he stayed in Columbus for community college, and who he had lost the way young people lose each other, gradually, then completely, in the slow drift of separate lives. Claire, who had been fully sighted the last time he saw her, 22 years ago at a gas station on the edge of town, where they had hugged goodbye like people who didn't know yet that it was goodbye forever. The hostess pointed in his direction. Claire nodded and began moving toward him, cane sweeping in a smooth arc, navigating the space with the practiced confidence of someone who has long since made peace with how she moves through the world. Marcus stood up. He didn't know why, he just stood. She stopped at the table. She smiled in his direction. "Marcus?" she said. "Claire," he said, and his voice came out wrong, too low, too full. She went still, not frozen, just still, the way a person goes still when the body receives information the mind hasn't caught up to yet. "I'm sorry," she said slowly. "What did you say your last name was?" "Janet just told me." "Webb," he said. "Marcus Webb." The cane stopped moving. Her hand tightened around it. "Marcus Webb," she repeated, almost to herself, "from Eastwood High School, Columbus, Ohio, who used to argue that Fitzgerald was romanticizing the American dream when he was clearly critiquing it." He was romanticizing and critiquing, Marcus said, the old argument rising in him like muscle memory. That was always the point. And Claire Navarro laughed, that same laugh, the real one, the unguarded one, and sat down across from him. They talked for 4 hours. They did not look at the menus for the first 40 minutes. The waiter came by 3 times before they finally ordered. They talked about Columbus and Northwestern. about the roads that had taken them in opposite directions and eventually deposited them both in Chicago within 15 miles of each other. Claire told him about the degenerative retinal condition that had taken her vision gradually over her 30s, the grief of that, the long and unglamorous work of rebuilding her life around it. She was a music therapist now, working with children in rehabilitation. She had learned, she said, that losing one thing sometimes teaches you to hear everything else more clearly. Marcus told her about Diane, about Sophie. He didn't package it cleanly the way he usually did for new people. He just said it plainly, the way you talk when you're sitting, across from someone who already knew you before you became careful. He said he was scared most of the time. He said he worried he was doing it wrong. He said his daughter had ironed his shirt tonight, and the crease was going the wrong direction, and he had worn it anyway because she had been so proud. Claire's expression did something complicated and gentle. "Tell me about her," she said. So he did. He told her about Sophie's obsession with marine biology, about the way she narrated nature documentaries in the bathtub, about how she cried at the end of Charlotte's Web every single time but still requested it. He talked about his daughter the way people talk when they have been waiting without knowing it for someone who actually wants to listen. At some point, Marcus couldn't have said exactly when, Claire reached across the table and put her hand over his. She didn't say anything, she just left it there, warm and steady, and Marcus felt something inside his chest shift the way furniture shifts when you finally move it after years, revealing the clean floor underneath, and the dust, and the evidence of all the time that had passed. "I thought about you sometimes," she said quietly, "after Northwestern. I always wondered how you turned out." "I turned out tired," he said. "No," she said. "You turned out kind. You can hear it. Kindness has a sound." He looked at her. "You really believe that?" "I have to believe it," she said. "It's most of what I have left to go on." They walked out of Rosario's at 10:30. The October air had sharpened while they were inside, and Marcus walked beside her on the sidewalk, matching her pace, quiet and unhurried. At the corner, she stopped and turned toward him. "I have to ask you something," she said. "Okay. Are you asking me on a second date because you remember who I was, or because of who you just met tonight?" He thought about it honestly. "Both," he said. "Is that all right?" She smiled. "That's the most honest answer you could have given me." He drove home slowly. Sophie was asleep, tucked under her dinosaur comforter with her arm around a stuffed orca she'd named Margaret. He stood in her doorway for a moment, just watching her breathe. He thought about second chances, about the arithmetic of loss and recovery, about a girl in an AP English class who had told him he was wrong about Fitzgerald and been right and wrong in equal measure, which was, he now understood, the closest thing to truth that literature ever offers. He thought about a woman on a sidewalk asking him a fair question and receiving an honest answer. He went to the kitchen and sat down and, for the first time in 3 years, cried. Not from sadness, not from grief, exactly. From the overwhelming, unmanageable recognition that life, which had taken so much, had not finished with him yet. That the story was still going, that he was still in it. He wiped his face with the back of his hand, looked at the ceiling, exhaled. Then he picked up his phone and texted Janet, "You could have warned me." She replied in 30 seconds, "Where would the fun be in that?" He laughed at his kitchen table alone at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and it sounded, even to him, like something coming back to life. 3 months later, Sophie shook hands with Claire very seriously at a coffee shop and then announced, apropos of nothing, that she thought Margaret the stuffed orca might also like music therapy. Claire asked her very many thoughtful questions about Margaret's emotional state. Sophie was satisfied with the consultation. Marcus watched them from across the table and did not try to hold any of it in. He let it be exactly what it was, improbable, tender, fragile, real, a beginning that none of them had planned and all of them, in their different ways, had needed. Life had not promised him this, but it had given it anyway, and that, he thought, was the whole point. If this story moved you, if you believe that kindness finds its way back, that love deserves more than one chapter, and that the best things sometimes arrive when we've almost stopped expecting them, please like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to the Kindness channel and never miss a story that reminds you what we're all capable of. Tell us in the comments, Where are you watching from? And has life ever surprised you the way it surprised Marcus? We read every single one. See you in the next story.